Alright, so this is my disclaimer, guys. Just be warned, like, this game is, and a lot of this content is 4 years old now, so I am not going to avoid spoilers. I'm not going to tiptoe around it. I'm just telling you right now. And if you're cool with that, awesome. But if you're not cool with that, look, my instant recommendation is go check this out. Go check all of it out. Everything. The anime, the movie, the game. Just go check it out. If you're interested. But if you need more convincing, here's my review. Also, just a quick disclaimer. All the gaming footage that I've used is PS4 footage from my own PS4, but my capture card is supposed to arrive like at the mid-August to close to October, apparently, because it's coming out of China, which is really, really rough, and I don't have the money to go buy an Elgato HD 60S or whatever, so I just have to sit tight and wait for it. So everything is recorded via a remote play, via the remote play app. I've recorded that. So I'm sorry for any quality dips or quality drops or artifacting. That's just how it had to be. Sorry, guys. So Final Fantasy XV graced our consoles in 2016, and to everyone's dismay, it was definitely released unfinished. The crew that worked on it kept on releasing updates even up until 2019, but as we are now in 2020, you'll find that a lot of the reviews that are out for it suffer from what I would call early adopters syndrome, which is exactly why we're late to the party. Alright, so coming into this late to the party as we are, you also have to realize that Final Fantasy XV is not just Final Fantasy XV. It is the game, right? It is the season pass. It is the movie. It is the anime series, and it is the other game, Final Fantasy XV Comrades, right? All these things bring together everything that puts together the story of Final Fantasy XV as a whole. So, lucky for you guys, we're gonna check out everything. Okay, I'm just gonna interject myself for a second, just to something that I completely forgot about, but is also part of it, is Final Fantasy XV: A King's Tale. It is a story where you use Noctis's dad, Regis, in his younger years, when he was like the main thing, and you travel around with your 4 buddies that you meet, or 3 buddies, either way. Travel around with him and his friends in a side-scrolling beat-em-up. And yeah, so that's free. So, like, if you haven't played this game or anything, or you're wondering where to check it out, start off with that. Like, it's got some gameplay mechanics that are similar to the main game, but it's different, and, you know, it's a fun romp anyway. It's a 2D beat-em-up, side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's good fun. Just give it a go. It's free. Now, all that being said, you kind of must be wondering, okay, there's all of this media that's out there, you know, and there's this book that just released. Where do I begin with all this content? Where can I start? How can my mind fathom? Don't worry, I got you covered, okay? Kingsglaive. Start with Kingsglaive. Kingsglaive is the movie, right? And it is really good, but oh man, there's a big but. And that but is, it is the best and worst introduction to this whole Final Fantasy universe that you will ever see. And here's why. Creative dissonance. It's the best because right off the bat, it tells you about the conflict between Lucis, which is the country that the main characters are from, and Niflheim, which is the country that the main antagonists are from. It tells you about that. It shows you a bit of like Noctis's life to say, ooh, these guys are scary and they're the bad guys. And then it shows you the war and how these guys are like controlling demons. But then, this is also where like creative dissonance really takes foot. Because I guess because these were made like simultaneously, like the movie and the game, and you can't really just say, hey, I'm making this for the game, can you put it in the movie, and expect it to be all the same. So there are characters that look completely different, like Ravus Nox Fleuret, that's Lunafreya's older brother, and he's got a grudge against Lucis, because he thinks that, if King Regis and that never came, then his mum would never have died. So he's got a mad grudge. But he looks completely different. The other creative dissonance is that, one of the things that was probably in the design brief is that Niflheim uses demons like as weapons, or like as soldiers, or something along those lines. It was obviously in the creative brief, because in this movie you'll find that the Lucian army is legitimately fighting off like demon beasts from like the game, so you got these weird bugs, and then you got behemoths, and there's even a Cerberus that, it's all part of the Niflheim army. But in the game they specifically say that they capture demons, they experiment on them, extract their essence, and put them into these like puppet soldiers, and that's how they get like so many soldiers that are like uncontrollably vicious and stuff like that. So that is exactly why it is the best and the worst way to introduce you into a thing. But you know what? Let's just talk about it for a bit, shall we? This movie follows the story of Nyx Ulrich, a refugee from the country of Galad. That is a country that's currently being taken over by Niflheim. Like, they're doing a hostile takeover because Niflheim want to expand their empire, essentially. So these guys are fighting for Lucis because Lucis is defending Galad. So they've enlisted themselves in the army, and they are Kingsglaives, which is people who are essentially, they're soldiers, but they're being granted the power of the crystal by the king. So they get like these special weapons that let them cast spells and let them do the teleporting that Noctis does and all that. And the fighting that they do is freaking awesome. Look, this is, I know that I said I was just, who cares about spoilers? But when it comes to a movie, it's different to when it comes to a game, because when it comes to a game, like, I feel personally like even if somebody tells you a spoiler, if they don't give the spoiler enough context, you can kind of forget about it and then still be impacted by it. But when it comes to a movie where you're not playing the game, you're not doing the role, you're watching the role, yeah, that's when I don't want to get into it. But I will say that, Nyx is probably one of my favorite characters. He's just, it was written so well, in my opinion. Anyway, so let's move on. Next up, we have the anime. So the anime series, it's called Brotherhood, it's free, it's on YouTube, and you can look it up right now, like legit, check it out. You know, it's got good animation, especially compared to some of the shows that have been coming out in these past few years. I really like it. It's I guess this is the type of thing you watch it in between playing the game, but you can watch it directly after the anime. It's essentially set after you leave Hammerhead, which is the first section of the game. Sometime after you leave there, because you know, Noctis uses the special skill that he learns against Leviathan for the first time on this like Shiva Lamia thing. Yeah, but the whole thing essentially is just about growing up and how you don't have to grow up alone, essentially, which is why it's called Brotherhood. So, you know, these four bros are just broing around, and it's a story about how they really began to bro their broness. Because when you bro like these bros, like, there's no telling how far you can bro. For real. Okay, but in all seriousness, it's used to show the growth in the terms of the relationship of the people that, you know, are in the main party of the game, because throughout the whole game you're only using these four bros. Sorry, I had to. But in all seriousness, at first when I saw this, I thought it was kind of insignificant, and then I was playing the game and I started traveling and I started going to all these different outposts, and depending on where you stay, whether it's a campsite or like a trailer park or something, like, you get these cutscenes, and like between just these little moments, and they call back to this Brotherhood anime, and just seeing that just lets you see just the real relationship that these guys, it makes the world, not just the world, but it makes the characters feel lived in, you know what I mean, like they've actually lived a life together, and it makes their relationship seem super prominent and like a major factor, the major factor that it should be in the game, like really shines through once you see all these little nods to it, but you'll only understand these little nods after you've seen the anime. So with that in mind, that's why I have to say, you know, yeah, watch Brotherhood, you know, it's free, it's 10 minutes an episode, you don't have to, you know, you can binge it, because it's like, what, an hour at a time, but still, come on guys, watch it. Hey guys, I'm gonna have to cut it short there, unfortunately. I need to get into the habit of making smaller videos, just so people can, you know, get into it a bit more. But, you know, stay tuned, because part 2 will be up shortly. I filmed it all at the same time, so, you know, just going through and uploading them in different chunks. But, you know, while you're here, be sure to check out the description. If you like the music, I've got links to all of it down below, both the official Final Fantasy soundtrack music link, the Amazon link, and also just the other, you know, lo-fi music that I used. On top of that, though, we've also got a merch store, so, you know, if you're wanting to buy yourself like a little shirt or a jumper or something throughout this cold winter, you know, be sure to check out the Amazing Gonzo 801st merch store, link in the description. But yeah, I will have to leave it at that, guys. I hope that you guys have a lovely day. The review's going to be the review score is going to be in the next video, but also I realized that I didn't really talk much about the movie Kingsglaive, and the general consensus is watch it because it's really good. Like I said before, it is pretty much the best way to introduce yourself into the universe, even though it is also the worst, but, you know, you're better off watching it than not watching it, either way. And the general consensus is everything that I'm mentioning in this is essential to understanding the whole story of Final Fantasy 15. But anyway, guys, I will leave it there. You guys stay blessed, stay beautiful, and I will catch you guys in the next one.